So this is where I see the outcome for the Metropolitan Division. New Jersey Devils top our list as ranking number 8 in the Metro in my prediction. They just added Hischier from the draft to first overall, which is pretty good. But even with Hischier, I don't see this team actually making a progression in the standings this year at all. They got Taylor Hall, who did okay last year, but really didn't pan out into a superstar. I thought he did okay, but not elite status. And to compare with the rest of the Metro Division, I mean, it's a dogfight in itself. So to have New Jersey to compete for even 5 spots, it's pretty hard to see them actually step the ladder. I see them coming dead last in the Metro, a very tough division to say that in the least, but still, I mean, they're just not a complete hockey team. They're still rebuilding, which is good, but not a hockey team that can actually compare to a Pittsburgh Penguin team or Washington Capital team. Coming in 7th, I see the Philadelphia Flyers. They still have Wayne Simmons, they still have Claude Giroux, but what about the back end? Elliott last year didn't have a great stint with Calgary, and as soon as they got him, they traded him or got rid of him. So would this be a bounce back year for Elliott? I mean, no, because he's played in St. Louis, who St. Louis's core. St. Louis was all with the Hitchcock plans was about defense, but Philadelphia doesn't have defense. I mean, they've gone through defense, but their top player is Gostisberg or Ghostisberg or whatever you call him, and I mean he's a good player, but he's no Peter Angelo or Drew Doughty or Erik Karlsson. He's good, but for help from Elliott, I just no, it just doesn't scream out to me a defensive team. They have Voracek, they have Giroux, they have Simmons, of course, who I just mentioned earlier, who can score, but again, defense is very much lacking. Coming ahead of Philadelphia, we have the New York Islanders, who rank number 6 in my prediction. I think this could be a little bit of a dropping off year, the end of an era for Tavares. I think at the end of the year, Tavares is going to stay on the team, but will they be a playoff contender? I mean, no, their goaltending is very weak, I see. They have Halak, who's always had an on and off game. They had Grice, but again, not elite status, not elite goaltending. In general, they have an okay team, but as I mentioned before with New Jersey, a team that can compare to Pittsburgh or Washington, no. They almost made the playoffs last year, getting beaten out by Toronto. But this year, I think it's going to be even more of a step back. I think there's another team in the Metro who is better than them that won't even make the playoffs. And that team is coming in at number 5, the Carolina Hurricanes. There's a lot of controversy with Ottawa Senators this year and with Carolina. A lot of people said Carolina was going to make it and Ottawa wasn't. I say the opposite. I think Ottawa will have a stellar year this year, enough to actually make it to the second wild card spot. Carolina, really, they've stepped up their game a lot, getting acquisitions, and Aho is looking pretty promising. Skinner's always on the tear. Stahl, he's what Jordan Stahl is. But they got Darling this year from Chicago. The thing that really makes me take a backseat to Carolina is that Darling has never played a full starting NHL season, and with the team in Carolina, I don't see this as a great jumping step for goaltending. Darling's good. Is he a person you can rely on game in, game out as a starting goaltender? He hasn't proven it, and that's why I'm hesitant to actually say yes. So yeah, I see Carolina coming 5th. Racking up into the number 4th spot, this year I can see the Columbus Blue Jackets sliding into another playoff spot as they did the year before. Columbus had a great addition, again from Chicago. Chicago gave away a lot of picks this year, but this guy is huge. I mean, it's Panarin. He has Patrick Kane similarities to him. Panarin's a young guy in his career that can exceed many expectations of what people thought of him originally. I mean, he's already done that with the Chicago Blackhawks, but this is interesting because this is now his opportunity to go from Chicago, who is a huge team with all their Stanley Cups, and actually make a name for himself in the Columbus uniform. And of course, with Atkinson, who was on a roll last year, you also have a Vezina winner in Bobrovsky. Very, very good team. Like, just the core can be very good. They kind of remind me of Nashville, and you saw how well Nashville did last year. Of course, running into another opponent of the Metro Division, Pittsburgh. Coming in at number 3, we have a team that's been there before, who made the first wildcard spot of last year, the New York Rangers. I can see New York doing better than last year. I mean, I don't know. This reason is more of a gut feeling. We have Lundqvist, who's older, Rick Nash, who I always think is going to do way better than he does. Then I kind of get slapped back to reality, and it's Rick Nash. I mean, he does what he does, I guess. This team doesn't have the keys to being a successful team as they once were, but I still think that they have this year locked up for a playoff spot. But again, this is all for prediction's sake. I mean, this isn't solid. I mean, this is just something to do at the beginning of the year, basically. Coming in at number 2, which is a lot. This one is going to shock a little bit of people, but we have the Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not Washington. You can kind of figure out where Washington is right now. Washington's a team that always hits first place in the season, then drops off right in the playoffs. Pittsburgh, they're very good in the season, but they don't exceed Washington usually. Pittsburgh, of course, they have a very solid team. They have now Murray, who's going to be the determining number 1 goaltender. No 1-2 punch with Fleury, who went off to Las Vegas in the draft. They have Malkin, Crosby, Kessel, Letang. You know this team. They won the cup. They're very good. They lost Kunitz this year, though, to Tampa Bay, which could be a very, very big piece to this team. But with the team that Pittsburgh has, I mean, how can you go wrong? I mean, you have so many of the core that you have from last year's Stanley Cup victory still on the team. I mean, you might have a few pieces missing, but still the general core of Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, Letang, they're all still there. I'd be watching out for this team to do a three-peat this year. They still have the keys. That's where I see them, number 2 this year. So number 1, I touched a little bit about this in Pittsburgh, but Washington. Ovechkin, I just read Barry Trotz said that he has to work on his slashing this year, so that should be an interesting thing. As we've seen in the preseason, there's so many penalties that are a little ridiculous, especially the face-off one, which I might touch on a little later in the season if it continues. But Ovechkin has always been a 50-goal scorer. He's always had that scoring touch to him. He has the wicked one-timer that everyone seems to want on their team. Ovechkin and Stamkos perfect that. They have Braden Holtby, of course, still on the team, who is a great goaltender. Little bit cracky under pressure and chokes a little bit, but again, in the season, Washington always does well. It's just who they are. So there's my prediction for the Metropolitan Division this coming year. We have the New Jersey Devils, number 8. We have Philadelphia Flyers, number 7. We have New York Islanders, number 6. We have Carolina Hurricanes, number 5. The Columbus Blue Jackets, number 4. New York Rangers, number 3. Pittsburgh Penguins, number 2. And the Washington Capitals, number 1. What do you think of these predictions? Are they right in your opinion? Are they wrong? Let me know in the comments below. And share this video for other people to see so they can also send their opinions down in the comments. Alright guys, have a great day.